Thanks everybody for joining me today to talk about lost organic traffic. I've got a bunch of things I want to run through today, so I'm going to start by sharing my screen and we'll go through some slides. There will be time for Q&A at the end of the conversation, but if you have questions in the meantime, please just type them into chat. I'll be keeping an eye on chat as I'm talking, and yeah, just let me know what you're thinking about, or if you have any questions about all of this stuff. And hopefully you can see my screen. If you cannot see my screen, please let me know, because I want to make sure that it is visible, but I'm going to assume that everybody can see my screen. So today we're talking about lost organic traffic, and there's a reason I wanted to talk about this today specifically. And it's because I keep hearing from people, my own clients and clients from the past, and people who have never been my clients, that they are losing traffic at an alarming rate. It's been going on the entire year. For some people, it's been going on longer than that. And the big question on everybody's mind is why? Why are we losing all of this traffic? Where is it going? What's happening? So my goal today is to show you exactly what's happening, and then we'll go through what can be done about it. And so just to quickly go through the agenda, first up, we're talking about traffic patterns, so exactly what's going on with all these losses, some commonalities that I'm seeing. Then we're going to get into the regaining traffic section. So how do we get it back? What can be done to stop the flow of traffic away from websites? And then I'm going to go through the strategy that I'm recommending to most people these days, which I call my search evolution strategy. It will run you through the kind of the basics of the strategy. You have a chance to check out the full thing yourself. You can either adapt it on your own, or you can contact me if you're interested in trying it out. And then we'll do Q&A. So let's talk about these traffic patterns and what's going on. I have been seeing a lot of graphics like this one, which suggests that there are, sorry, I'm just going to make sure that there's no other participants. Yep, okay. So I'm seeing a lot of this kind of bar graph or line graph, I guess. And you'll see, maybe you see this on your own, maybe it looks familiar to you. This is looking at, towards the end of last year until the beginning of this month. This is a client of mine. And yeah, traffic just steadily going down. What's going on here? Well, two things happened over the last year that perhaps you know about, but first off, there was not back to back, but two core updates that happened in March and June of this year. And those always have an impact on search, and people will jump up and down. But I haven't seen as many that are so widely damaging to brands. It seems to me like these two and the one that was last year as well all seem to be a little bit, I don't know. It seems to be working against people more than for people, which is normally what I'm used to seeing after a core update. But something else happened in this time period that I think has an even bigger impact on it. You can probably guess what I'm going to say. It would be the rollout of AI overviews, which are those summaries that you see at the top of all of your Google searches these days, showing you, making it so that people don't have to click through because they've got all of the information they want at the top. Pretty much every client that I have worked with has seen a drop around this time period in this little bracket here. That's when things start to go downhill. I don't think it's a coincidence that those three things happen kind of together. My guess would be that the March update was them getting ready for a lot of these changes, and the June update was probably doing a little bit of cleanup after all of the changes that they've made with AI. I don't work at Google. I don't know anybody that works at Google, so, well, that's not true. But I haven't spoken to anybody at Google about this, so I don't know if my theory is right. Nobody would confirm it, even if I did, but here it is nonetheless. Now, when we talk about AI overviews, I just wanted to pull a little bit more data. There's actually one of the hard things about SEO for the last couple of years is that there wasn't a lot of data out there in the world. We didn't know what people were, we didn't know whether things were, well, we just didn't have enough data to put together a picture of what was going on. But we do have enough data now, thanks to people like Ahrefs, SEMrush, and a bunch of people who've done research on their own. We do know now that AI overviews do have a pretty significant impact on search. I personally didn't need data to convince me of this, but it always helps to see the data. So this one chart right here from SEMrush It shows that you can see this is comparing keywords that have AI overviews to keywords that don't have AI overviews. The ones with AI overviews are the pink bars. And it's showing you what how many zero click searches. It means that people search this term and then they didn't click on anything because everything they needed was right there in the Google search. So as you can see, any queries that have an AI overview pretty much are 10%-ish more likely to result in zero clicks. I'm actually surprised the number is that small. I would have thought it would be bigger. But still, we can see that if you have AI overviews at the top of your search results, you're far more less likely to click. And on top of that, AI overviews are just becoming more common. You've probably noticed this, but as you're searching, they're more and more common. Different types of queries are pulling up AI overviews that didn't used to before. In just the first 3 months of this year, we saw massive growth in them, and my guess is that it would have continued beyond March. So we're seeing more AI overviews overall, and that means we're seeing less click-through. So that's where a lot of the traffic is going. It's just not going anywhere. It's stopping at Google. Google kind of put a plug in the dam of traffic, and it's stopping people from going further. I also don't think that this is as I hate to be negative, I promise there's good stuff coming in this, like positive stuff coming in this, but I don't think we've seen the bottom of it yet. I think that it's going to get worse because I have a very strong theory. And if you follow my newsletters, you know I have this theory that they are going to make AI mode the default at some point over at Google. AI mode, if you haven't used it yet, it's basically the same thing as chatting with ChatGPT or whatever. It's more conversational. It's LLM. So you're having a conversation. Why do I think they're going to be doing this permanently? Why do I think that it's going to become the main, the default setting for Google? Well, first of all, they're putting it in really, really prominent places, which is usually what Google does before they make something permanent. So they've got it here. It actually goes before the all search or images on mobile. And if you've used the Google in your web app, you can see AI mode right there. And as if we needed any more confirmation, this person, Logie Kilpatrick, works at Google on the development team. And he made this kind of cryptic tweet a few weeks ago when somebody said that AI mode was going to be the default. He put sim with a smiley face. They retracted that later. They took that back and said that's not actually, I wouldn't invest too much in it, but I'm not stupid. I've been playing this game for a long time. I know how Google functions usually. My guess would be that probably in 2026, we're going to see AI mode become more of the default. And it's just Google's way of trying to keep up with Search GPT and all these other tools that are out there. When you use, I don't know if you've had a chance, I just wanted to show what AI mode looks like. I recommend giving it a shot. This is just kind of the answer. So you can see, I asked the question here, what will happen when AI mode becomes the default? And actually you can see when it goes back to the top here, this is a GIF, you can see that the very first thing it says is businesses that rely on organic traffic will see a significant drop in clicks, forcing a major strategic shift. I mean, who's surprised that even Google's own tool agrees with the things that people like me are publishing, since that's where it gets the information. But I thought that was kind of funny. And as you can see, there are little links here that link off to different sites, but really the main ones that get featured are down at the very, very bottom, and it's only 3 before you have to hit expand. Very different game than what we've been playing. There are no more blue links. There are no more top 10. That doesn't exist anymore. Or it won't if this becomes the default. One thing I wanted to point out, this is another interesting chart I came across, is that we all know that for the first time in history, Google is being challenged in terms of how many search options people have beyond Google. I mean, now we have ChatGPT, we have Claude, Copilot, Gemini, all the ones you see listed there. People don't only search through Google nearly as much as they used to. However, that doesn't mean that they're searching on Google less. You can see that there really hasn't been much of a change in the number of times people go to Google every single month this year or last year. It really hasn't changed all that much. What has changed is how often people are going to AI tools as well. So what's interesting to me is that what's actually happening here isn't that AI search is replacing Google search. It's that that search is just getting bigger and more diverse. People are Googling just as much as they used to Google, but now they're also going to ChatGPT. They're also going to all these other tools. It gets kind of overwhelming for people like me who work in SEO when suddenly, instead of tracking one tool or maybe two, now you have like 15 to track. So as I'm saying down here, it's not good enough to just watch Google Analytics and monitor that anymore. That is not a functional SEO strategy. That is part of a functional SEO strategy, but it cannot be the only piece. So regaining traffic, I think I hopefully made my case here that traffic is going down for people. A lot of it is to do with all of these different AI searches. But how do we get it back? And that's the next big question. So I want to address a debate that's going on right now on LinkedIn and pretty much everywhere else that you can imagine where people are talking about SEO. You have these kind of two camps of people. You have some people out here saying that AI has completely changed the game. Traditional SEO is dead and everything is different now. Nothing will ever be the same. And then you have people saying that actually, no, AI search is just traditional SEO with a fancy new name. All the tactics, everything you were doing stays the same. You don't need to make a change. I'm here to tell you that neither of these are right. And actually, or both of them are right. And my more nuanced take is that what we actually need to be thinking about here is doing the same traditional SEO standards, which I'll get to in a minute what those are, but the priorities have shifted. Certain things that mattered a lot in 2023, 2024 are less important now, not important at all, but less important. And other things that I might have suggested my clients put on the back burner a few years ago, I'm now like, this is our number one priority. And I want to get into exactly what those are. So I'm going to focus on the three kind of pillars of SEO. Anybody who's working in SEO will be familiar with these, so people use different names for them. Technical SEO, which deals with the technical side of your website and all the metadata and all of that, user experience. We have off-page SEO, which is backlinks, citations, references to your website. And then we have what a lot of people call on-page SEO. I call it content marketing because that's my jam, which has to do with obviously the content that you're putting on your website and the expertise that you're putting out there. So these have been the SEO priorities for the entire time that SEO has existed. Yes, they've shifted a little bit, but really the three main things that you do with SEO have not changed, at least since I started in 2008. Obviously, things have been tweaked a little bit, but these three pillars and the main categories underneath all of them have been here since the dawn of SEO, and I don't think they're going away anytime soon. But as I've mentioned, I do think that what needs to happen is we need to do some rethinking of how important these different tasks are. So starting with technical SEO, I don't have a lot to say here. This is all still like basic. You have to have this done first and you have to have it done well. No SEO strategy should ever begin without a technical audit unless you've already done one recently. You need to make sure that the website is functioning properly. But one thing I will say that is perhaps changing recently, Google has started, or some people are reporting, Google hasn't announced it officially yet, but it looks like it's happening, that they are using AI to create metadata for websites and pages. So one thing that I used to harp on a lot about is, I do a tech audit for people and I'd say, hey, you're missing a bunch of meta descriptions or a bunch of your meta descriptions are the same. That's not good practice. I'm still going to be saying that because until I have official word from Google that this is happening, but I'm not going to be urging people to do it as much or pushing for it as much because it seems to me like metadata will probably just be created by AI in the future, in the very near future, probably before the end of the year. So I don't think metadata is something that we really need to worry about as much. Now, I want to talk about off-page SEO because I actually think, well, I have always said this to be true, that off-page SEO is like the one thing, like it's probably the most important and it's the one thing that people ignore the most as well because it's hard to get backlinks. It's hard to get your citations in order. Citations, when I say citations, basically I mean your website being mentioned in various lists, directories, anything that sort of has credibility and cites your business as a real thing. It's similar to mentions, which is not quite as official when people mention your brand. That's also much, much, much more important now with AI. And if you don't have backlinks, if you don't have citations, then there's really no point in doing SEO in 2025 and 2026 because it doesn't matter how much great content you write. It won't be seen by AI crawlers. It won't be mentioned in AI results. And it won't be, it just doesn't make any sense, especially with AI. It's always been important, but now more than ever, because that's really how AI kind of decides what to feature in its answers. And then, of course, the one that's really changing, in my opinion, is content marketing. It's a different game here. This is part of what's been challenging for me personally. I'm focused on content marketing, and obviously, AI has changed pretty much everything about how we do content marketing. It's still how you rank. So, you need all of these things. You need to have all three pillars kind of working simultaneously for any of this to work. Content is what actually shows up in front of people. It's your messaging. So that's not different. But what is different is the long form articles that people have been writing for many, many decades. You know, 2,000, 3,000 word articles about how to do this or what is this, what's the definition of that. I don't recommend those anymore because those are the ones that get 0 clicks. I do think that if you have a high domain authority, maybe you could get some traffic from it, but the odds of a smaller website getting into one of those really competitive keywords, into one of the few slots available on AI, and then generating clicks, it seems like a waste of money to me. That being said, I'm not saying that you shouldn't write valuable content that answers how to or what should I do or what is this. But don't expect it to bring traffic. Don't write that content solely because you want to bring traffic. You have to have another reason for wanting to write that content piece. Education, brand, recognition, or just answering a problem of your audience. All of that is fine, but you're not going to get a ton of traffic from it. You will if you get into the AI spot. You will get a lot of traffic from it, but that's hard to do. And even then, it won't be nearly as much as you would have gotten last year before they rolled out AI overviews. And I also am going to be recommending to my clients reduce the number of new content pieces that they create in general. This has been something that, there was a time, I'm going to age myself here, when I was young in this industry and I was thinking back then, the thing was like volume, volume, volume. You just had to churn out as much as possible. I was writing like 20, 300 word articles a day. It was so bad. That died off a long time ago. But I have been recommending to people that 4 or 5 new pieces of content a month is a good plan. I don't know that I'm going to be recommending that anymore. I think I'm going to tell people to draw that number of new content pieces down and instead focus on hygiene, which is going back to old content pieces and cleaning them up, making them presentable, and then republishing them with a new date. This is like, put it on my gravestone. If you republish a piece of old content with new information, it has to have a new date on it. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it because freshness is what matters. But I'm recommending to most of my clients to kind of flip flop. It used to be that we would do 4 or 5 new pieces of content a month and maybe 1 or 2 refreshes or, hygiene pieces of content. I'm kind of suggesting that we flip that. Let's do 1 or 2 pieces of new content a month. Let's do 4 or 5 different hygiene pieces of your most valuable content, the ones that are most likely to bring traffic, because that seems to be like a much better. First of all, it takes less time to do an upgrade than just to write something from scratch. You're far more likely to get domain authority off of a URL that's been around for a long time. And like I said, the competition to get into those places in AI search, there's only 3 spots, and they're probably going to go to HubSpot and Salesforce and Wikipedia, not you. As cruel as that sounds. So don't waste too much of your time and budget writing tons and tons of new content that's not going to be seen or bring you any traffic, if your goal with the content is to bring in traffic. And then keywords that you focus on has changed as well. I'm going to show you some of the AI tools that I'm using right now. Keyword is going to be a dinosaur term at some point. I'm actually upset that it's not already a dinosaur term. Keywords have kind of been, to me, the opposite of domain authority. They're like the most overplayed, over-focused part of SEO. People just spend way too much time thinking about keywords and not nearly enough time thinking about everything else. With AI, keywords is not really a thing. It's more like topics is what you get, prompts or what you get when you're doing research like this. You don't just focus on a word or even a string of phrases. But long tail keywords are still important. Those are things that are 2, 3, 4 words long, usually questions. Those do show up, and people also asked sections on Google, as well as AI searches often use it to generate the next question, the next question, the next question. So I do think that focusing on long tail keywords is important. Something that's new to me, something that I kind of used to disregard was branded keywords. I didn't really care that my clients were ranking number one for their own brand name. That's what they should be doing. And so, it wasn't something I really thought about very much. In fact, when I do keyword reports for people, I often would just remove all of their branded keywords or move them to a different tab because they just felt like clutter to me. Not anymore, because now your ability to rank for your own brand name in terms around your brand name will greatly impact how you show up in AI searches that might recommend your brand. So if you run a furniture company in your town and somebody's asking, where can I buy a sofa in Wisconsin or whatever, and you want to be showing up in that. And the way that you're going to show up in that is that you have a brand name that's recognizable to LLMs that you rank number one for, so that they know when they reference you as, XYZ furniture store, that they've got the right one. So I am paying a lot more attention to branded keywords for my clients, and I'm paying a lot more attention to bottom of the funnel keywords, which are the ones like I was just suggesting, keywords that suggest somebody is getting ready to make a purchasing decision. They're looking for a solution that my client offers. Those keywords are they've always been the most important keywords. These days, they're kind of the only ones that matter. All of those top of the funnel keywords that you just use to bring in heaps and heaps of traffic, and then ideally you would have systems that would move that traffic through to your, the customer journey. That's less of a tactic now, because most of that top of the funnel stuff is not happening on your website. It's happening in ChatGPT. It's happening in Google search. It's not going to happen on page. So what really matters is that you're showing up in those bottom of the funnel keywords on Google, so that AI tools that use Google and other tools to determine what they're going to serve are serving you in the bottom of the funnel. And then the last thing I have to talk about here, and I could probably do it, and I probably will do an entirely different presentation on this, is the idea of distribution. You, unfortunately, can no longer rely on Google or search engines to bring you the traffic that they once brought you. That is the harsh reality. It's just not going to happen. But what you can do is move some of your marketing spend away from content production. Sorry to the people who are doing a lot of it out there, but like I said, I don't think it's as valuable. And you want to move it into people who can actually manually get the content in front of the right people. This means having a really robust social strategy, which also helps you get mentioned in the LLMs. It means partnering with other people. It means doing outreach. It means doing backlinks, all that stuff. You have to find ways to make sure that your content goes to the right places. A newsletter is another form of distribution. All of my clients are getting major distribution overhauls because it's really not something I focus on too much anymore. I kind of left it to the client. I said, look, I create the content. I find the keywords for you. It's your job to go out there and get it in front of people. And I knew when I said that to my clients that if they didn't, ideally it would still be okay, because I'd be getting them a ton of traffic anyway, just from search. But now I can't get them that traffic anymore. So it's non-negotiable with me. We have to have a distribution strategy. I would much rather people spend their money on distribution than on writing those long form how-to blogs, because that's a waste of money. I also put arrows next to EEAT, which stands for, can I do this on the spot? Expertise, something, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. I can't remember what the second E is. Anyway, it's basically, to me, that acronym has always just meant high quality content. Experience. Thank you, Kristen. Experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. To me, that just means when Google came out with EEAT, and EAT was originally I always thought, oh, this is just a way for them to tell people who don't know what good content is, what good content is. But you'll notice I have an arrow over here by high quality as well. I think the trap that a lot of people are going to fall into is that they think that they can just turn out these AI articles and publish them. I think everybody on this call should probably know that that's not really true. So making sure that you're not sacrificing quality, even if you're using AI to write your content, it still has to have expertise, authority, trustworthiness, and something that's just recycled, copy paste from ChatGPT does not have that authority, that expertise. So humans fortunately still have to be involved in it. Okay, so that all is different and a lot of change is happening. And what makes it hard for people like me is how do you turn that into a strategy? Because it suddenly feels like what we used to have was like one thing to focus on Google, we knew what to do. And then suddenly we have like all these different tools, things that were working, aren't working, things that didn't matter before matter. Where do we go from here? I'll be honest with you, I spent a long time in the desert with that question myself. I was not sure what to say to people. I was confused myself. Things have gelled for me. I've done a lot of thinking, a lot of research, and I've come up with a plan that I think actually works pretty well. I shouldn't say pretty well. It works well. It's good. And here's how it works. So, first of all, I call it the search evolution strategy. It's a 4-month strategy. If you want to check out the full thing, it's free and published online. So you can either scan this QR code right here, or you can go to that bit.ly link right there. And this link will be on the screen for a while. But this is how this strategy works in 4 stages. So the first stage is pause and analyze. And this is when I say to people, all right, like stop spending money on things that we are not sure whether they're working. Pause for a month and let me just do some analysis and see what's happening. When I say pause, I don't mean like stop all marketing. I mean like do the basics, do what matters, like what just keep the heartbeat going, and let's pause everything else. And I take a long and deep hard look at their existing strategy first to identify what they're doing that probably needs to change. Then I do a huge citation and backlink profile analysis to basically say, okay, because this is such a huge important part of it, if they don't have a good backlink profile, if they don't have good domain authority, that's going to be number one. So we need to look at that right off the bat. I do that in the first month. Then I also identify their top performing and flagging content. I wrote traffic there, that should say content, meaning in AI specifically, which of the content pieces you're writing, first of all, which ones are still bringing in traffic, because we want to make sure that those are the ones that we're cleaning up, that we're republishing with the new gate, that those are going to be our focus pieces for hygiene. But then also, which pieces are actually already doing the AI work? Are you getting traffic from AI via any of your pages? That's one of the first things I'm going to look at. And then after the pause, I'll say, I'm going to suggest that you redirect your marketing dollars in this place. Maybe let's take that 5,000 a month that you're spending to churn out these long form articles. Let's move it over here to a link building expert and a PR specialist who are going to find you citations and who are going to get you into, a different plan, get you into the social media or whatever it may be. Now, I have another freebie for you here, which is you can do this part on your own. I mean, you can do the whole thing on your own, really. But the first thing you have to do is determine whether or not you are losing traffic. And a lot of people say to me, I don't know how to tell whether I'm losing traffic or which pages are losing traffic. Well, lucky for you, I made a cheat sheet that really goes through step by step in Google Analytics how to determine which pieces are losing traffic and by how much. This is free. It's online. You can scan the code or just go here to the bit.ly lost traffic guide and you'll get the whole thing for free. You can literally just go into your Google Analytics. It should take about 10 minutes and you'll know which content pieces are losing traffic, if any. Phase 2 becomes when we rework what's going on with your existing content. So content that already exists on your website, we take those top performers, the ones that are and are not performing for AI, and we're going to re-optimize them. Then we go through and analyze the content that's already performing in AI, like I mentioned, just figuring out which ones those are, and do an analysis of why. Why are these the pieces that people are drawn to that are getting cited? what is it about these that makes AI tools want to cite them, and how do we apply that to more pages? Then also, I'm going to be looking for content that I think has opportunity to really thrive elsewhere, away from search. Maybe I'm like, hey, I actually think that this could be a really good podcast series if you all want to start a podcast. Maybe I think actually this is a topic that you should be collaborating with this creator on. They're already talking about it. They've got a huge audience. Can we collaborate with them? So taking existing content pieces and putting them somewhere where they actually will have more impact since they're not pulling in search traffic, that's part two of this. And that's a big part. The slide is shorter, but the amount of work it takes is actually the majority. So how do you do that? You may be asking from at home or from tomorrow, the future when you're watching this. Well, it's not easy. You have to have the right tools. And let me tell you, they ain't cheap. I was already paying, I think, like $150 a month for SEMrush. And then in order to get their full AI suite, it's $99 extra per month per website, plus another $150 to upgrade my account. So, the sad news is I don't really know of any free tools that do what this does, but the good news is I'm really impressed with SEMrush. I have the account, so if you ever want help or you just want to take a look around and peek around, we're going to do some of that now, but please let me know because I'm happy to show you more. But what happens when you use AI tools? If you've used SEMrush, a lot of this will look familiar. It's branded the same way, but it is different. So first off, we get this handy AI visibility ranking tool. Now, I'm not seeing a lot of people who have very high scores, but you can see this client had 11 mentions total, and 300 of their pages have been cited. So mentions means, took me a while to figure this out. Mentions means it actually, in the text of the prompt, your brand name was mentioned. Citations just means it didn't mention your brand by name, but it cited one of your pages. Both are good. Obviously, mentions trump citations, but both are good. So my client has a lot of room to grow. And you can see that it now pulls from ChatGPT, AI overviews, AI mode, and soon to be Gemini. I think it also does Perplexity. Next is this really cool. I love this. This is like kind of the new version of keyword marketing. It gives you a bunch of topics. So for this client, you can see I've actually expanded it down, but there is a bunch of these. I just chose this one. Personal website and about me pages was one of the things that one of the topics where SEMrush is saying, hey, AI is talking about brands like you or your brand in this sort of realm. And then it actually shows you the exact prompts that you can check out. So this is a prompt from Google Overviews. This is from ChatGPT. I don't remember what this one I think was also Google Overviews. And when you click view full response, it's literally like looking at a ChatGPT screen. It's like you're looking at somebody else's ChatGPT conversation. You can see where you were cited or not cited, and you can see a list and click on a list of everybody who was cited and figure out why they were cited and you weren't. Extremely, extremely helpful. This is kind of more what I was saying with topic distribution. So instead of keywords, we're getting topics now of different areas where there's room for improvement or where you could be talking more in LLMs. And my favorite part, I think, is the ability to compare yourself to your competitors. So you can put in your competitors and your own name and see how well they are doing in AI. And you can see what kind of prompts people are using to access them. So you can see, oh, my competitors actually all appeared in a prompt about personal websites and I didn't. Well, we got to change that. We got a new piece of content to write. We got a citation to find, something like that. Not quite done, Shay. I mean, there's so much that these tools do. I could probably, again, do a whole presentation on it. But this is what I was just talking about here. It's showing us how competitive these folks are. Google AI mode, Search GPT, Chat GPT, Perplexity, and Gemini in comparison to other brands. And then over here, we have what they call sentiment drivers. I love this as well. This is showing you in general how your brand is being perceived by people having conversations in LLMs. So it tells you exactly where, oh, people think that your competitor does this better. People don't like that your brand does this. People love that your brand does this. it's really, really helpful to have this information summarized for you. And not only does the tool summarize it for you, but it also adds in these recommendations that are updated, I think, once a week that tell you this is what we recommend you do. And it says, making it's not just like go write this blog. As you can see here, it's like much more in depth and detailed than that. And you kind of have to take this guidance and then decide, first of all, is it actually correct? And second of all, what do I do? How do I strengthen perceptions on international readiness? How do I do that? You have to put on your thinking cap and be a strategist and think, okay, what kind of content pieces could we write that would actually answer that? And where could we publish those where they'll be seen? Okay, so after that, so phases 1 and 2 of this strategy are kind of all of that research time, and then I put together a comprehensive strategy that allows me to give them new and existing priorities, organized in a way that it's easy for them to sort through and tackle. Then I also am putting together a strategy that goes beyond search for my clients. As I said, to me, distribution and visibility beyond Google is a non-negotiable now for search engine visibility. So this will include a strategy that talks about social marketing, outreach, and public relations, because that is really the key factor now beyond just showing up in search. And then new content ideas for them as well. So I'm not just giving them like, hey, here's all the content pieces I think we should adjust for AI. It's more like, okay, I actually think we should have a content piece about this or focusing on that based on all my research. And a lot of what I'm concentrating on is what I call confirmation content, which is after somebody does a search in AI, a lot of people then go and do a little bit more. So they will ask AI, who are the top 10 SEO people to follow? And obviously they'll recommend me and a bunch of other people. And then people go to my LinkedIn page, right, to check that out. Or maybe they go watch a YouTube video. Same thing with products, right? Somebody's researching your product, it gets recommended to them. Then they think, I'm going to go look a little bit further and see if I can learn more about that product or how to solve that problem. You need to be there with your brand waiting for them with a different piece of content that is somewhere else. Maybe it's on ranking on Google, maybe it's on YouTube, maybe it's on social media, maybe it's just people chit-chatting about it on Reddit. That's what I find out for my clients. And then I say to them, hey, look, I see people going to YouTube to answer these questions. You guys don't have a YouTube channel. What are we going to do about that? That's the kind of thinking that I'm trying to get people into with this strategy. And then finally, the last part is a review of the full strategy. But what I really like to do during the fourth and final month of this strategy is make sure that everybody in-house is on board with this. Like SEO and content can no longer be kind of siloed. If you have a marketing department, then pretty much everybody needs to be across these changes, from your social media managers to your paid advertising people and everybody in between. So I will do a lot of in-house training, making sure that everybody understands what's changing and what the new priorities are and how to address them. And if they've got the SEO tools, I'll do a training on the SEO tools that they can use to keep monitoring things. And I also use this as an opportunity to introduce them to new specialists, because honestly, they're going to need new people. They're not going to just be able to get by with an SEO specialist and a writer anymore. That ship has sailed. They're going to need maybe a social media manager. Maybe they're going to need an outreach specialist. Maybe they're going to need somebody in PR. I'm lucky that I have a pretty large network. I'm always looking for more people. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, hey, I actually wouldn't mind Liam recommending me, send me an email and let me know what you do so that I can recommend you when we get to this phase with my clients. And then it's over. And this is the part of when I tell people that I am doing this strategy, a lot of people, this is the part of where they go, you're crazy. I don't have a plan to make this a long-term contract. I don't have a plan to turn this into a long-term retainer. It is, I call it my self-destruct contract. At the end of 4 months, it's over. Even if my client wants to keep working with me, I don't really allow it because I'm not the person that needs to be doing this long-term. Ideally, I should set them up so that they are then able to take the marketing budget that they were spending on me or on people before me and redistribute it to these new specialists that I've introduced them to. So the money that you would spend for me to keep checking things, giving you recommendations, I actually think can probably be better spent elsewhere. For a lot of my clients, I stay on as just a consultant. So maybe once a month or once a quarter, we check in, I review things, I give them a few more tips, but that's pretty much it. It does not turn into an ongoing long-term contract because it would make sense. Ideally, this should be done, delivered, and then executed. And I'm not a social media marketing manager. I'm not a PR specialist. I don't do outreach. I don't do video content. So there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done by people who are not me. And that's why the contract ends at the end of 4 months. So I know we only have a couple people in here now, people watching from home. If you have questions that I didn't address here, please send me an email or just post anywhere on social media. I will see it if you tag me. And to the folks who are here, now is the chance. If you have questions that you want to ask, if you have any thoughts or feedback, I would love to hear it. So please feel free to either turn on your mics or type into the chat. I'm going to take the silence as the suggestion that nobody has any questions, which means I did a thorough job explaining this, I hope. I will be sending around the video of this. I will send around the slides and the links as well in case anybody wants to recreate this. And certainly go check out the strategy if you haven't had a chance to do that yet. My name is Liam Carnahan. You can reach me at inkwellcontent.com or Liam at inkwellcontent.com or on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Liam Carnahan in the world. So you should be able to find me, or you could just Google me, or you can ask ChatGPT how to find me because he knows too, or she. And thank you, everyone, for coming today, sitting through this. I hope it was helpful and enjoy the rest of your afternoon.